Hi everybody, it's Jenn from McCreath. Today is May 27th, 2022. It just kind of dawned on me that 15 years ago this week, I had a very adventurous week. And one that would kind of act as a turning point in my life in many ways. May 25th, 2007. I was in Annapolis, Maryland at the Rams Head Tavern, of all places. One of the greatest small venues to see live music in the entire world, in my opinion. I didn't know it at the time, but it would be the 29th and the very last time I would see my favorite country rock band, Poco, live in concert. I knew I was moving to an island far, far away, and that the opportunities to see Poco would be very limited from there on in. And yeah, unfortunately, I never did get back to see Poco. And past couple of years, we've lost two of the members of that band that kind of hung around all those years after everyone else left in the 70s. So definitely interesting to reflect on that. And of course, since I was on the road that week, I had lived in Toronto. I had literally just flown back from Newfoundland, where I spent the long weekend looking for a new place to live because I was about to move out here. But before I left, I had to see Poco one more time and run another marathon, since that's what I was doing. I was into marathon running at the time, and 15 years ago today, I was in Buffalo, New York, of all places, where I ran a marathon in 4 hours and 1 second. I had my watch going, and as I approached that finish line, I was completely worn out. But when I saw 3:59 on that watch, I ran as hard and as fast as I could for that last little while. And when I had my own stopwatch, and I had to wait a couple days for the results to come online to see whether or not I actually broke 4 hours or not. And of course, I just missed it by 1 second. So of course, I would go on to run faster marathons the year following, but that was pretty cool. I ran 3 marathons in 14 days, and those were my first 3 marathons. I ran 4:18 2 weekends prior in Mississauga, Ontario, and then the next weekend I was down in Cleveland, Ohio, running a 4:08. So to run a 4-hour marathon on your third try, yeah, I guess that's pretty good. Especially after driving 18 hours to see Poco. But that's not all. After I ran the marathon, I drove from Buffalo back to Toronto, and the very next day I loaded everything I owned into a moving van by myself. One of them big-ass 24-foot cubes. And then I drove it to Newfoundland. And then of course I unloaded the moving van. So, oh my goodness, hard to believe that was 15 years ago. It's hard to believe I'm still here in Newfoundland. Amazing to think that I would go on to run 30 marathons before, I guess, taking a sabbatical, shall we say. I only took up running because I wanted to lose some weight, because I knew once I transitioned, I would start gaining weight. And that's exactly what happened. I lost 75 pounds, and then I gained it all back, and more, even though I was still running marathons. I had to finally give up running marathons because the knees just couldn't take it anymore. So I decided to start running for political office, which I've done 4 times. And yeah, it's been quite the journey, and Definitely an adjustment moving to Newfoundland from Toronto. I used to go to 50 to 60 concerts a year. As I mentioned, 29 of those were Poco concerts. Almost every major music act would come to Toronto, and if they didn't, they would come somewhere nearby, like Buffalo or Detroit or Montreal or Ottawa. And way out here in St. John's, Newfoundland, we're kind of far away from everything, so we don't get a lot of big name acts willing to make the extra travel out here. But yeah, it's been probably the toughest 15 years of my life in some ways, but also the best in other ways. And if you've been following me, you know the past year or so have been pretty rough for me. But I think we're finally turning a corner, and the first time in 13 years since I lost the job I initially came here for, I finally have some optimism, and maybe I'm no longer a young professional. And I'm now the old person who gets photographed. If I can find this little clip here on my computer, I'm going to zoom in because it's so funny. Somebody wrote an article about the fact that there's not a lot of grocery stores within walking distance in this city, and if you don't have a car, you could be stuck shopping at places that don't sell all the healthy foods that you may need. So I just totally, ironically enough, someone took a picture, just a random picture of one of the many hills we get to walk up and down here in our city. Martha Mazuchka wrote the article, "If you don't have a vehicle, Newfoundland is a food desert." And I can't think of a better person to show walking up and down the hills with a heavy bag of groceries than dear old me, Jennifer McCreath. And it's funny, you try so hard when you're an activist, doing things for the trans community. And I've tried so hard to get positive media attention for my various political runs. But it's me carrying a bag of groceries up a hill with my back turned to the camera that gets me back into the newspaper for the first time in many years. So, yeah. Glass is half full, glass is half empty. Some people's glasses are bigger than others. And I need stronger glasses because these ones, just not quite good enough. I still can't quite see the joys of getting old, but unlike the song that The Who wrote, what did they say? I hope I die before I get old? Well, no. I'm quite happy to be sticking around here, and I ain't going anywhere anytime soon. So if you don't like me, too bad. On that note, I just want to just mention that I've had to kind of put a muzzle on myself and try to be a little bit less engaged and involved, especially when it comes to commenting on political issues or issues in the justice system. I spent most of the last year working in the courts, and they do not want public servants talking about anything there. Now, I'm a civilian employee of a police station, so same thing. I shouldn't be commenting on at least justice or police issues here in our jurisdiction, but I will point out that I watch the news like everyone else does. I ran right by that supermarket in Buffalo 15 years ago. I'm pretty sure that marathon route, we literally went up and down every single street in that city. I got to see pretty much the entire city of Buffalo throughout that marathon run. On that note, Buffalo is a food desert. All the years I've visited Buffalo, finding grocery stores is difficult. There's not very many grocery stores in Buffalo. But yeah, I wanted to say I'm watching, and I'm thinking about all the survivors of the violence at the Tops Superstore, and the one in Texas as well. My goodness, it's just shocking to see these things happening. in a country just our neighbors. I'm in Canada. Newfoundland is part of Canada, and heck, I've been to Buffalo, New York. I've been to Texas. I've been to 47 out of the 50 states, and it's shocking that there's mass shootings every day. Someone did a chart of how many mass shootings in the U.S. this year, and here we are, what, about 160 days into the year, and I think there's been more than 200 mass shootings. I mean, again, I don't have all the answers. I just find it shocking and frustrating and sad and disappointing that this just seems to be a problem that can't be fixed, at least in the U.S. And might want to take a look at what we're doing up here in Canada. We have 1/10 the population, but 1/1000th of the amount of mass shootings. Maybe, just maybe, if it's harder to get your hands on these guns, fewer people. What's that? The rifle guy was like, the best way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Well, maybe if the bad guys have a much more difficult time getting their hands on these guns, there wouldn't be so many bad guys with guns. I don't know, just an idea. What do I know? Anyway, that's my little talk for the week, and yeah, hi everybody. Doing a little better than the last few times I've posted. Still kind of worn down, exhausted. Been a long couple of months. I've literally had 3 different jobs in 5 months. But that's good news. Better than having 0. And the one I've got now is I've been there a couple of weeks and it's off to a good start. And for the first time since COVID hit, I'm optimistic that I might actually be able to get myself out of debt and earn enough money to kind of get to a point where I don't have to worry every single day about making sure the bills are paid. Literally had a second job, part-time on the side, I guess we'll say, running a small business off the side of my desk, selling things. Facebook has really become a great spot to buy and sell sports collectibles, I've learned. And I've got a batch of older beaten up hockey cards, but there's a few here. I mean, I've got a Johnny Busick from 1970 that well, the corners are a little chewed up. I've got Frank Mahovlich, but somebody drew a mustache on him, so they're not $20, $30, $40 cards anymore. They're $2 to $3, but if I can sell a couple $100 of these a week, it'll that's what I've been doing literally to keep the bills paid. And I'm just exhausted and worn out. 80 to 100 hours a week working. I basically had no life. I want my life back. And I think the good news is to a certain extent we're going to get it back. And onwards we go. Year 16 in Newfoundland about to start. June 1st, I guess, is the official anniversary date. But yeah, interesting to think and reflect back. I guess that's what we do when we get into our late 40s. We start to reflect on the life we've lived and revisit some of those ideologies, goals, aspirations, all these things I thought I'd want to do when I grow up. Well, I didn't really do too many of those, but I did a lot of other things that were pretty cool. So, again, glass half full, half empty kind of scenario. Still lots of goals, still lots of things I'd like to accomplish. Some things, obviously, I will never accomplish. I am now officially too old to do some things in life, certain things. And that's frustrating. Probably never get married and have kids. Probably never own a house. But you know, there's other ways around that. You can rent. I've got a good landlord. We get along. She even lets me pay the rent a few days late now and then if I ask nicely. And yeah, having kids. That's a whole other video, I think. The concept of trans people having kids is it requires some different products and services that aren't readily available by the healthcare system. And yeah, we'll do another video on that, because it is kind of a big topic to put out there. But yeah, I don't want to bore you, and the tennis video is coming next, so I'm sure you're going to be bored watching that one too. So thanks everyone for paying attention, and I really appreciate that people care about me and my unique life journey. Have a great night, everyone.